now.
Everything didn't look so bad at 7 a.m. and then at like 9, they just changed everything.
Hurricane Dorian gaining strength and raising concerns. We have full coverage of how residents are preparing for what could be one of the strongest storms to hit the coast in years. And that's where we begin tonight. Hurricane Dorian right now battering the Bahamas with winds more powerful than ever recorded there. While the expected track of the storm still has it turning north before making landfall in Florida, it has taken a slight westward jog. Reporter Brad Bell from our sister station has been covering preparations on Florida's east coast since Friday and has now moved to Martin County, where evacuations have begun.
Well, this is the beach at Hutchinson Island.
A team led by Kanawha County Ambulance left today, extending a helping hand to South Carolina ahead of Hurricane Dorian's potential landfall on the state in the coming days. The team consists of Kanawha County Ambulance, Logan EMS, and Jan Care. 10 ambulances and 1 command vehicle were called to respond to South Carolina this morning. The teams are in position. Once the teams are in position, they will support the pre-storm efforts and response to Hurricane Dorian. In Huntington, a 6-person team with the Coast Guard Marine Safety Unit are currently on the road to Georgia to provide aid in the wake of Hurricane Dorian. Lieutenant Junior Grade Colin McLeland says their crew will pre-stage in Georgia and wait for further instructions as the storm makes landfall. The team took 3 shallow draft john boats with them that can operate in extreme low water and reach areas that are flooded but are too shallow for standard rescue boats. McLeland says they also have several chainsaws, fire axes, and tools to assist in accessing stranded people affected by the storm. This morning, the newly appointed bishop of the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston made a stop in Charleston. Bishop Mark Brennan visited the Sacred Heart Co-Cathedral and led prayer for this morning's Mass. He also spent the morning meeting with parents and kids while getting to know the Catholic community. He replaces Michael Bransfield, who's been accused of making sexual and suggestive comments and actions to followers. Brennan is the 9th bishop of the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston. Mountaineer Little League parents in Alum Creek spent their Labor Day weekend cleaning up after their dugout was vandalized for a 3rd time. Eyewitness News reporter Daniel Dindak has more on the issues the league has faced this season.
What if a baby would open it?
Police are searching for a man who escaped from the Charleston Correctional Center last night. According to the West Virginia Divisions of Corrections, Bruce C. Hancock escaped from the center just after 8 yesterday evening. Hancock is serving 10 to 30 years for multiple charges, including attempt to commit a felony, grand larceny, breaking and entering, fleeing from an officer, and battery. A terrifying afternoon in West Texas Saturday after a gunman went on a deadly shooting spree, firing at random as he drove around the city of Odessa. 8 people killed, including the shooter. More than a dozen others injured, including a 17-month-old child. ABC's Shelley Childers has the details.
The FBI has joined the Texas Rangers to now
Whelms the East Coast. People are forced to leave their homes while many are questioning where the storm will hit. Experts predict more than 3 feet of storm surge in Jacksonville. That's where we find Kylie Thomas from our sister station to show us how the city is preparing for a hurricane once again.
As all eyes are on the waves.
West Virginia's government and local municipalities across the state have together issued thousands of purchasing cards. They give workers flexibility when it comes to doing their jobs and buying what they need quickly and efficiently. However, the system can also be twisted. It's estimated hundreds of state workers are committing fraud and using those cards illegally. Lead I-Team reporter Kenny Bass has been looking into P-card practices.
Federal documents released.
Dozier has a guilty plea hearing scheduled for September 9th at the Byrd Federal Courthouse. As we continue looking into this situation, we'll let you know how much money she's accused of stealing and what she allegedly bought with your tax dollars. One town experiencing a nuisance that some would call a load of bull. That's next. In health news tonight, a new study says not so fast on knocking all fast food. It can be made healthier if you make some changes. The study confirms fast food is generally not great for you. Researchers looked at 34 fast food chains, finding an average combo meal containing almost 1,200 calories and lots of sodium, saturated fat, and sugar. But the Harvard researchers also say you can hold off on special sauces, take off the cheese and toppings, and go for water instead of soda, and you'll be better off. Researchers say the key is customer modification of the offerings and making those changes adjust how healthy the meal is. Facebook users who find the social media platform to be stressful are at a higher risk of becoming addicted to it. According to a new study, social media users continue to use the same platform that causes them stress instead of logging out. The research has assessed the online habits of 444 Facebook users, discovering that many users reported switching between activities such as chatting with friends, scanning news feeds, and posting updates. As participants with stronger stress levels use the same platforms to cope with that stress, diverting themselves through other activities within the site, which led to compulsive and excessive behavior. Big Brother, or at least Big Tech, apparently really is watching us, and many people are becoming increasingly worried about it. Just this week, we have heard 2 new revelations about high-tech surveillance. Fox News correspondent Jillian Turner tells us what that means.
Amazon Jillian Turner, Fox News.
Firefighters rescuing the Pope before his weekly address, where he was trapped. Next.
Perhaps one of
minutes late to his weekly St. Peter's Square address Sunday because he got trapped in an elevator. Pope Francis telling the crowd that an electrical issue caused him to get stuck for about 25 minutes. He also asked for a round of applause for the Vatican firefighters who freed him. A person was detained on Saturday in France after someone was fatally stabbed and 8 others were left injured. The attack happened outside a subway station in Lyon. The reason for the attack remains unclear, but French officials don't think the attack was terror-related. 3 of the injured remain in critical condition. Pro-democracy protests continue in Hong Kong for the 13th straight weekend. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Hunt reports.
Despite
In the Hollywood buzz, musician Pitbull has to reschedule his LA concert because of Hurricane Dorian. It's because he can't safely fly out of Miami. He announced it on Twitter, saying due to Hurricane Dorian's fast-changing weather conditions approaching South Florida and the eastern seaboard, tonight's concert at the LA County Fair has been postponed until September 12th. We're sorry to disappoint fans, but are excited to hit the stage on the new rescheduled date. Actor-comedian Kevin Hart was hospitalized after a car crash in California this morning. An incident report says he and the driver suffered major back injuries in the wreck in Calabasas. The crash involved Hart's vintage Plymouth Barracuda muscle car that was driven by someone else at the time. The driver lost control of the vehicle and rolled into a ditch. Hart got out of the car on his own, but the driver and another person were trapped for a while. The report says Hart was able to walk to his nearby home before he and the driver were transported to the hospital. Labor Day weekend is usually a quiet one at the box office, though the films fighting for holiday moviegoers made as much noise as they could. David Daniel has an early look at this weekend's box office. A federal prison with no walls or fences was so remote the mountains were the only barriers to keep prisoners in. Eyewitness News photojournalist Brad Rice shows us what life was like at Mill Point Prison in this week's Traveling West Virginia.
Now with breaking news.
Continuing to follow that breaking news out of Texas, where we have learned at least 5 people are dead and 21 injured after a mass shooting in West Texas. The Midland Police Department says the suspected gunman was shot and killed at a movie theater. The incident occurred between the cities of Midland and Odessa. The 2 communities are about 20 miles apart. One One of the people injured is a police officer. Right now, no word on that officer's condition. Authorities say the shooter had hijacked a U.S. Postal Service truck and appeared to be firing at people randomly. The White House says President Trump has been briefed and his administration is closely watching the situation. We'll keep you updated as more information comes into our newsroom. And Kanawha County deputies are searching for a man who is wanted for multiple charges after they say he kidnapped his kids from their mom's home in St. Albans. According to the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office, 27-year-old Christopher Michael Slater Jr. of South Charleston illegally entered his ex-wife's home through a window early this morning and kidnapped his 2 children. Deputies say they found Slater's car in the Pratt area at a family member's home, and both kids were found safe and returned to their mom. Slater is wanted for kidnapping, burglary, and violating a protective order. Anyone with information on where he could be is asked to call police. A home on Charleston's west side suffered major damage after catching fire this afternoon. According to Metro 911, the Main Street home caught fire just before noon Saturday. Smoke from the fire could be seen from several miles away. Dispatchers say no one was in the home at the time of the fire. And we're following an ongoing investigation. 11 suspicious deaths and at least 2 have been confirmed a homicide at the Lewis A. Johnson Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Clarksburg. Yesterday, Senator Joe Manchin visited the facility. Eyewitness News reporter Danielle Dindak spoke with Manchin about the investigation and the timeline surrounding it.
Senator Manchin was looking for
Hurricane Dorian's path shifted slightly north, now putting Georgia and the Carolinas in its direct path. The Category 4 hurricane is heading to the Bahamas now, likely to make landfall there late tomorrow. ABC's Megan Tevrizian is in Daytona Beach with the latest. Demanding answers after her son was shot and killed by a police officer in Montgomery. She's suing the city and the police department in a federal lawsuit. Eyewitness News reporter Jesse Starkey has new information that raises the question to investigators if deadly force was warranted.
I just want.
And we spoke with Montgomery Police Chief Paris Workman. He says he can't comment on the lawsuit. The shooting is still under investigation by the Kanawha County Sheriff's Department and the Kanawha County Prosecutor's Office. Ford is issuing a recall of more than 400,000 vehicles. We'll tell you if yours is affected next. And we spoke with Montgomery Police Chief Paris Workman. He says he can't comment on the lawsuit. The shooting is still under investigation by the Kanawha County Sheriff's Department and the Kanawha County Prosecutor's Office. Ford is issuing a recall of more than 400,000 vehicles. We'll tell you if yours is affected next. Consumer News, Ford is recalling thousands of vehicles because of concerns over the strength of its seats. The automaker announced 4 recalls Friday. They include more than 483,000 vehicles, including the Ford Explorer, Expedition, and F-150. Ford states seat backs in the affected vehicles may not restrain people during a crash. They believe the seats may have been assembled wrong and could be missing a piece needed to keep them upright. If a crash happens, the seat may lose strength, increasing the risk of injury. To find out if your car is part of the recall, you can check the recall section on Ford's website. The company says its dealers should be able to inspect and fix the problem. United Airlines has extended its cancellations of the Boeing 737 MAX flights another several weeks due to the grounding of the aircraft. The carrier previously had canceled flights on those planes through November 3rd. This move will extend that until December 19th, with more than 90 daily flights affected. United says this makes it easier to move affected passengers onto different flights. Boeing promises a software fix for its 737 MAX by early September. From there, the company hopes to get Federal Aviation Administration approval in October. Hiding her seat. Us have done it on a road trip, lean our seat back to get comfortable or even take a nap. Well, one woman wants us all to think twice before doing that, and she wants car makers to get the message too. Katie Davis investigates the risk of reclined seats for this Spotlight on America, part of an I-Team investigation.
After a spot
Hiding her seat. Us have done it on a road trip, lean our seat back to get comfortable or even take a nap. Well, one woman wants us all to think twice before doing that, and she wants car makers to get the message too. Katie Davis investigates the risk of reclined seats for this Spotlight on America, part of an I-Team investigation.
after a spot.
The case.
For Spotlight on America, I'm Katie Davis.
And Spotlight on America reached out to the Auto Alliance, one of the groups that represents the car makers. A spokesman declined to comment.